I buried my daughter 15 years ago. I watched them close the casket. I kissed her cold forehead one last time, and I whispered goodbye into an emptiness that swallowed me whole. Her name was Mira, my only child, my light, my heartbeat. She was 16 when a fire tore through our home in the middle of the night. By the time firefighters reached her room, the roof had already collapsed. They said she never woke up, but I saw the burn marks on her tiny hands when they let me see her one final time. That night, I lost everything. But before I continue, check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching. My name is Elena Ward, and for 15 years, I've lived with a silence that never healed. I've moved houses, changed jobs, even tried to build a new life, but nothing filled the hole my daughter left behind. Every mother says they'd know their child's voice anywhere. I never truly understood what that meant until last night at 3:17 a.m. when Myra's name appeared on my phone screen. For a second, I froze, thinking I was hallucinating. I hadn't slept much. Maybe my grief was finally driving me insane. But the phone kept ringing. Mira calling. The same photo I'd used on her contact years ago, her smiling in a blue hoodie, was there, glowing faintly in the darkness of my bedroom. My hands started shaking so violently that I almost dropped the phone. It couldn't be real. Her number was disconnected years ago. I'd even called it sometimes, just to hear the robotic voice say, "This number is no longer in service." But that night it rang. And kept ringing. I answered. At first, I heard only faint static, a hollow crackle like wind passing through an empty hallway. Then a small, frightened whisper. "Mom." My breath caught in my throat. No sound in this world could have replicated that voice. The slight rasp she always had when she was nervous, the upward lilt at the end of "Mom." "Mira?" I said, barely able to form the word. "Mom, I can't see anything," she whispered. "Where am I?" "It's cold." My whole body went numb. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't someone mocking me. It was her. My daughter. "Mira, sweetheart, what are you talking about? Where are you right now?" "I don't know," she cried softly. "It's all dark. I tried to move, but there's no space. It smells weird, like dirt." My vision blurred as tears filled my eyes. Dirt. Darkness. Cold. Every word painted a picture that clawed at my sanity. "Mira," I whispered, clutching the phone tighter. You died. You died 15 years ago." Silence. Then her voice came back, trembling. "No, Mom. No, I didn't. I was asleep, I think. I woke up here, and it's so tight. Please help me. Please." It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I could hear her breathing, shallow, panicked, exactly as I remembered from her childhood asthma attacks. I was shaking uncontrollably now. "Mira, listen to me. Just tell me what's around you." "Wood." That's all she said at first. Then, after a pause, "There's something rough above me." I pushed, but it won't move. A coffin. Every part of me screamed that it wasn't possible, but every instinct, every ounce of my being, told me it was her. "How are you calling me, baby? You don't have your phone anymore." "I don't know," she said between sobs. "It was in my pocket when I woke up. My old pink flip phone. The screen's glowing, but the battery's almost gone." That phone. I had buried it with her. She'd begged me back then, "Please, Mom, put it in with me. It'll be my lucky charm in heaven." I had agreed, because how do you say no to a child even when you're planning her funeral? Now that same phone was calling me from underground. "Mira, listen to me carefully," I said, my voice trembling. "We buried you at St. Agnes Cemetery, under the willow tree near the pond. That's where you are. Do you understand?" There was a moment of silence, then a quiet gasp. "I can't hear water dripping," she said. "Mom, please come get me. Please, I don't want to be here." Her voice cracked on that last word, "here," and something inside me broke. "I'm coming," I whispered. "Just hold on. Don't hang up." "Batteries blinking red," she said, her voice dissolving into sobs. "Please hurry. I'm so scared." "Mira, don't go." Just stay on the line, okay? I'm leaving right now. But before I could grab my keys, the call cut off. The line went dead. I tried calling back, once, twice, a dozen times, but every attempt ended the same way. This number is no longer in service. I ran outside barefoot, still in my nightgown. The air was cold, damp with early morning fog. I didn't think. I just drove, headlights slicing through the empty road toward the cemetery. At that hour, the gates were locked, but I knew another way in. Through the back fence behind the caretaker's shed. The place was silent except for the rustling of leaves and the faint croak of frogs by the pond. My heart hammered as I followed the familiar path toward the willow tree. 15 years. 15 years since I'd stood here watching them lower her into the ground. Now I was here again, but this time, my daughter had called me. I dropped to my knees beside the headstone. Mira Ward, 1994 to 2009. Beloved daughter, always in our hearts. The grass above her grave looked untouched, just as it always had. Perfectly still. But when I pressed my ear to the earth, I swear I heard something. A faint, muffled tapping. Like someone knocking from the other side. At first, I thought it was my imagination, the tapping, the soft thuds rising from under the dirt. But it didn't stop. 3 short taps. A pause. Then 2 more. Almost like a pattern. Almost like a cry for help. I pressed my hand against the cold ground, my breath fogging the air. Mira? I whispered. The sound came again, faint but unmistakable. Tap, tap, tap. My pulse thundered in my ears. I didn't know whether to dig, scream, or collapse. The earth under my palm was cold, firm, still sealed. I started clawing at the soil with my bare hands, my nails breaking against the stones, tears blurring my vision. Mira, hold on. Mommy's here. I'm going to get you out. Footsteps approached from behind. Miss Ward. I turned, startled. The flashlight beam cut through the fog, revealing the night caretaker, Mr. Porter, an old man with gray stubble and tired eyes. What on God's earth are you doing? He demanded, his voice trembling. My daughter. I gasped, pointing to the grave. She's alive. She called me. She's down there. He blinked, confusion and pity mixing on his face. Ma'am, your daughter's been gone a long time. I heard her. I cried, pounding the ground. She said she's trapped. It's dark. She's cold. He stepped closer, his expression softening. Sometimes grief makes us hear things we wish we could. Before I could respond, the phone in my pocket vibrated. My heart leapt. I pulled it out, unknown caller. But somehow I already knew. I hit answer with shaking hands. Mira? Static. Then a voice, faint, distant, panicked. Mom, it's getting hard to breathe. Mr. Porter froze when he heard it too. His eyes widened. Who is that? It's her, I whispered, my voice breaking. It's my daughter. Please hurry, Mira cried, her voice distorted, almost echoing. The light's gone again. I can't see anything. I turned the phone toward the caretaker, desperate. You hear that? You hear her. He nodded slowly, his wrinkled hand trembling as he made the sign of the cross. That voice came from your phone? I dropped to my knees again, pressing the phone against the dirt. Mira, baby, I'm right here. Can you hear me? Yes, she whispered, voice muffled now. I can hear you. Mr. Porter stumbled back. Miss Ward, I need to call someone. This isn't right. But before he could, the voice on the line began to distort, glitching like an old tape. Mom, it's dark, can't breathe. Then a faint metallic screech, followed by silence. No. I screamed into the phone. Mira, answer me. Don't go. But the line went dead. The screen flickered once, and the call history vanished. No trace of the number, no duration, nothing. As if it never happened. Mr. Porter was shaking his head. This grave sealed, ma'am. We can't dig without a court order. Please, let me call the police or a priest. A priest? I asked, staring blankly at him. He swallowed hard. Sometimes the dead don't rest easy. Maybe she's trying to reach you for a reason. I looked at the grave again. the soft soil glistening under the weak moonlight. My reason screamed madness, but my heart whispered hope. "I'm not leaving her here," I said, voice low but firm. Mr. Porter hesitated, then sighed heavily. "I've got a shovel in the shed," he muttered. "God forgive me." We dug in silence, the night swallowing every sound except the scrape of metal and the rhythm of our labored breaths. With every shovelful of dirt, I felt like I was peeling away layers of reality, stepping further from the world of the living and closer to something else entirely. After nearly an hour, Mr. Porter's shovel hit something solid, a hollow thud that froze both of us. We exchanged terrified glances. The coffin. My hands shook uncontrollably as I brushed away the last layer of soil, revealing the wood. The paint was cracked, the metal edges rusted, but still intact. "Ma'am," Porter whispered, "we shouldn't open this." But I was already reaching for the latches. They groaned as I pried them open. The lid lifted slightly with a creak, releasing a gust of air so foul it made me gag. Mr. Porter turned away, covering his nose. Oh, Lord. Inside was exactly what I feared and what I prayed wouldn't be there. Myra's remains. A small, fragile skeleton wrapped in tattered fabric, her locket still around her neck. The pink flip phone lay beside her, its plastic casing warped but intact, and glowing faintly. It was on. The dim screen flickered, showing one new voicemail. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. Static first. Then her voice. "Mom, please don't cry. It's not your fault. I can see you now." The phone slipped from my hand and hit the dirt. Her voice had changed, calm, almost gentle. Mr. Porter was backing away slowly, whispering prayers under his breath. The screen dimmed, then turned black. "Mira?" I whispered. "Nothing." Then softly, too soft for Porter to hear, the phone spoke again. "You shouldn't have opened it, Mom." The battery light blinked once and died. The night fell completely silent. Not even the wind moved. Porter looked at me, pale and trembling. "We have to close it. Now." But I couldn't move. I could only stare at the lifeless form of my daughter, and that cursed phone resting beside her bones. Finally, he grabbed my arm, pulling me away. "Please, let's go. Whatever this is, it's not your girl anymore." We reburied the coffin under a cloudless sky, my heart hollow. I don't remember how I got home that night. Only that when I did, my phone was still in my hand, and there was a new voicemail notification. Unknown number. Timestamp. 4:03 a.m. Duration. 0:17. I pressed play, and heard breathing. Then a whisper. "Mom, it's cold again." When I woke up the next morning, I almost convinced myself it was all a dream. The grave, the call, Mr. Porter's pale face. Everything felt too unreal to have actually happened. But then I saw it. My phone, still lying on the bedside table, with a cracked screen and a new notification. One unheard voicemail. For a moment, I just stared at it. My hands trembled as I reached for the phone, half expecting it to vanish when I touched it. I pressed play. At first, there was only static, harsh, grating, endless. Then came a faint sound beneath it, like humming. A tune I knew by heart. Myra's song. I whispered. She used to hum it every night before bed, soft, slow, and sweet. Now it sounded warped, like something trapped in an echo chamber far beneath the earth. Then her voice, faint but clear. "Mom." I found the light again. I froze. But there are others here. They don't like the light. The message ended abruptly, replaced by a hiss so loud I dropped the phone. My heart pounded. Others? I wanted to scream, to cry, to run, but something deeper, colder, whispered, "Listen." I drove back to the cemetery that afternoon. The air felt heavier, the ground darker, almost swollen. Mr. Porter was nowhere to be found. His toolshed door was wide open, his flashlight still on inside, buzzing weakly. I called his name, but only crows answered. Then I noticed the grave. The soil, the same one we'd covered last night, was disturbed again, freshly turned. Someone or something had been there after we left. A small piece of pink plastic lay half buried near the headstone. I knelt and brushed away the dirt. It was the phone's back cover. My stomach turned cold. I pulled out my own phone, desperate for any explanation, and that's when I saw the new file in my gallery. A video, time-stamped from 2:43 a.m., while I had been asleep. I pressed play. The footage was dark and shaky, but I recognized the angle immediately. It was filmed from my bedside table. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. Then the camera flickered and I saw her, Mira, standing at the foot of my bed. She looked like herself again. Bright eyes, messy curls, the same blue pajamas she was buried in. She smiled softly and whispered, "Mom, don't be scared." Then her expression changed. Her face flickered like a bad signal. Behind her, faint figures began to emerge from the shadows. Long limbs, hollow eyes, pale faces turned toward the lens. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They found me, Mom." The screen went black. I dropped the phone and stumbled back, my knees hitting the bed frame. My breath came in sharp, painful bursts. This wasn't just grief anymore. Something had crossed over. I ran to the bathroom sink and splashed water on my face, trying to anchor myself. But in the mirror, just for a split second, I saw movement behind me. A small figure, head tilted, smiling. I spun around. Nothing there. Only silence until the phone began to ring again. Unknown caller. My throat went dry. I shouldn't have answered. But love makes you do stupid things. "Hello." This time it wasn't Mira. A deep, broken whisper replied, "She's not yours anymore." I froze, my blood turning to ice. "Who are you?" A low growl came through the line. "You dug where you shouldn't have." Then laughter. Dozens of voices laughing at once, layered over each other. Men, women, children. And under it all, faintly, Myra's voice crying, "Mom, please help me. They won't let go." The line went dead. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floor, every gust of wind felt alive, like the house was breathing. At 3 a.m., I heard it again, the tapping. Only this time, it wasn't coming from beneath the ground. It was coming from inside the walls. Slow, deliberate. 3 taps. A pause. Then 2 more. Just like before. I walked down the hallway, the air cold against my skin. "Mira?" I whispered. The tapping stopped. Then, a small voice from inside the wall, muffled but clear. "Mom, it's so dark again." I pressed my ear to the plaster, tears streaming down my face. "Tell me where you are, baby." "I'm right here," she whispered. "But I'm not alone anymore." When the voice faded, I didn't realize I'd fallen to my knees until I felt the cold floor against my palms. My phone buzzed one last time. A message appeared on the screen. "Mira, 2:58 a.m. Don't open the door." Then, from the other side of the house, a soft knock echoed, slow, rhythmic. 3 knocks. A pause. Then 2 more. I stood frozen, staring at the front door. The knocks came again, gentle at first, almost polite. 3 knocks. A pause. 2 more. Exactly like before. My phone screen still glowed in my trembling hand. "Mira, 2:58 a.m. Don't open the door." I wanted to run, to scream, to hide under my bed like I did when thunderstorms scared me as a child. But something stronger held me in place, that desperate, motherly hope that maybe, just maybe, it really was her. I stepped closer, my bare feet silent against the cold floor. "Mira?" I whispered. The knock stopped. Then, in the faint silence, a child's voice, soft, trembling. "Mom, please open. I'm cold." It was her. That same lilt, that same tender tone. But something was wrong. Her voice had weight. It echoed like it came from a deep, empty space. I reached for the lock, my hand hovering. Then I remembered her message. "Don't open the door." "Mira," I said carefully, "sweetheart, if that's really you, tell me your song." Silence. Then a laughter. Low. Distorted. Not hers. I stumbled back. The laughter grew louder, deeper, until it didn't sound human anymore. Something scraped against the door from the outside, slow and deliberate, like fingernails dragging down the wood. I grabbed my phone and backed toward the hallway, whispering prayers I hadn't spoken in years. Then, the doorknob began to turn. I screamed and ran into the bedroom, slamming the door shut. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst through my ribs. From the living room, a heavy thud echoed, like someone had thrown their weight against the front door.
Once. Twice.
Then silence. I sat on the floor until morning, clutching the phone like a lifeline. When sunlight finally spilled through the curtains, I forced myself to check. The front door stood perfectly still. No scratches, no dents, no sign anyone had been there. But when I looked down, I saw a small footprint in the dust by the threshold. Tiny.
Bare.
Just like Myra's. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. By noon, I was at the police station, begging them to reopen my daughter's case. The officer, a woman named Detective Rain, listened patiently, but her expression was the same one everyone gave me, pity mixed with disbelief. "Miss Ward," she said softly, "you buried your daughter 3 years ago. What you're describing sounds like trauma-induced hallucinations." I slammed my phone on the table. "Hallucinations don't send text messages, detective." She looked down at the screen and froze. The message was still there. Time-stamped. Undeniable. Her professional calm wavered for just a moment. "This came last night?" I nodded. Right before something tried to break in. Detective Rain exhaled slowly. "Where did you bury her?" "Rose Hill Cemetery." Her face drained of color. "You should have led with that." She explained that Rose Hill wasn't just a cemetery. It was built over what used to be an orphanage, one that had burned down in the early 1900s. They said dozens of children died there, trapped in the basement. Their bodies were never recovered. The ground had been repurposed decades later, and no one ever dug deep enough to find what remained.
Until now.
A chill spread through me as her words sank in. "What if," I whispered, "what if Mira isn't the only one who woke up?" Detective Rain looked uneasy. "If you believe that, Miss Ward, we should get a priest involved, not the police." But before she could say more, my phone buzzed again. Another message. "Unknown number. He's behind you." I froze. Rain frowned. "What is it?" I turned the screen toward her, and the lights flickered overhead. She reached for her gun, instinctively scanning the room. "Is someone here with us?" A faint laugh echoed through the station hallway. A child's laugh. Then, the sound of small footsteps running. Rain bolted out of the room, shouting for backup. I followed, and saw something that made my blood turn to ice. Tiny wet footprints trailed across the polished floor, leading toward the exit. Outside, the wind howled, carrying a faint whisper that made every hair on my body stand up. "Mom, they're angry you dug me up." That night, I stayed at a motel. I locked the door, covered the windows, and left every light on. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. At 3 a.m., the TV turned on by itself. Static filled the screen. Then faintly a voice. "Mira?" I whispered. "Mom, you can still save me."
How?
The static hissed louder. Then her voice, strained, urgent. "Find the place where the children burned. Don't trust the light." The TV shut off, and from the hallway, the tapping started again. 3 taps. A pause. Then 2 more. Only this time, it came from inside the room. The sound was coming from the closet. 3 knocks. A pause. 2 more. I stared at the thin wooden door, my breath shallow. The motel room's yellow light flickered overhead, throwing long, trembling shadows across the walls. "Mira?" I whispered. Nothing. Then came a faint whisper from behind the door, muffled but unmistakable. "Don't be scared, Mom. I'll show you." I reached for the handle, but before I could touch it, the television clicked back on. Static again. Only this time, the image began to form. A building. Charred walls, broken windows, the faint outline of a rusted sign. Rose Hill Orphanage. The same one Detective Rain had told me about. Then, words appeared across the screen in flickering white text. Come find US. The TV shut off with a pop that sent the room into total silence. I grabbed my coat and car keys. I didn't think, I just moved. Whatever waited there, I had to see it, because if there was even a chance my little girl was still trapped in that place, nothing else mattered. The cemetery gates loomed ahead, iron bars twisted with vines. My headlights swept across rows of crooked tombstones before catching the crumbling remains of an old stone staircase half hidden behind overgrown weeds. I followed it down. The air grew colder with every step, thick with the scent of damp earth and smoke. Old smoke, the kind that seeps into bone and never leaves. At the bottom stood a warped wooden door half buried in soil. The basement, I whispered. I pushed, and it groaned open. The beam of my flashlight cut through the darkness, landing on scorched bricks and melted beams. The walls were black with soot. I could almost hear the echoes of screams trapped inside them. My phone vibrated. Unknown number, you're close. I swallowed hard. Mira? No answer. Only the faint sound of children humming. That same melody.
Her lullaby.
The tune floated through the tunnels like smoke, twisting around me, leading me deeper into the ruins. The passage narrowed until I had to crouch. The deeper I went, the stronger the smell of burnt wood became. And something else. Something sweet, like singed sugar. My flashlight flickered, then died completely. Darkness swallowed me whole. Mira? I whispered again. A soft voice answered from right behind me. They're still burning. I turned nothing. But then I saw it. Faint blue light spilling from a doorway ahead. I moved toward it, my shoes crunching over ash. Inside was a large, circular chamber lined with what looked like children's drawings, scorched but still visible, stick figures, suns, flowers, and one that made my blood run cold. A woman holding a child's hand beside a grave. Written underneath, in shaky crayon letters, Mom and me forever. My flashlight flickered back to life, revealing something else in the center of the room. A pile of broken toys, dolls without eyes, stuffed animals missing limbs, rusted bicycles. And there, on top of it all, the pink flip phone, still glowing. I reached out slowly, afraid it might vanish. When my fingers touched it, warmth spread through my palm. Not the warmth of life, but the heat of fire. The phone vibrated and lit up with a new message. Mira, I can't leave until they do. Before I could reply, another text appeared. Unknown. Then stay with us. The toys began to move. Heads turning. Eyes blinking open where none had been. A dozen tiny voices whispered in unison. She woke us up. She's ours now. I stumbled back, tripping over debris. The whispers grew louder, rising into shrill laughter. The walls trembled, dust falling like ash. Then, from the smoke, figures appeared, small shapes, burned and broken, their faces glowing faintly with embers where eyes should have been. Mira? I called out, voice cracking. One of them stepped forward. Not Mira, but another child, no older than 7, with a melted ribbon in her hair. She's trying to help us, the child said, voice hollow. But you keep calling her back. I just want her home. The child tilted her head. Home isn't here anymore. Behind her, the others began to chant softly, the same lullaby, over and over. My vision blurred, my knees giving out. The air grew hot, choking. Through the haze, I saw her.
Mira.
Standing in the middle of the room, her skin pale, her eyes too bright. She smiled sadly. Mom, you shouldn't have come. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Please, baby, let's go home. She shook her head slowly. I can't. They need me.
Who?
The ones who never got buried. The ones still burning. The walls pulsed with orange light, and for a moment, I saw what she saw. Dozens of small shapes reaching out from the flames, crying for help. Then Myra's voice broke through the roar. You can save us, but you have to finish what the fire started. The phone in my hand glowed white hot. A final message appeared on the screen. Burn it down. I stumbled out of the chamber, coughing, tears streaming down my face. My hands shook as I found a rusted gas can near the entrance, probably left by workers years ago. I didn't think. I just did what she asked. The match flared to life in my trembling fingers. "I'm sorry, baby," I whispered and dropped it. The flames caught instantly, racing across the floor, swallowing the darkness. For a moment, I heard laughter, soft, joyful, not cruel this time, and Myra's voice, gentle as wind. "Thank you, Mom." Then everything went white. When I woke up, it was morning. Firefighters were everywhere. They told me they'd found me unconscious by the cemetery gates, my clothes covered in ash, but no burns. They found nothing left of the orphanage ruins. No toys. No remains. Nothing. Just one thing. A melted pink phone, resting on a patch of untouched earth. That night, back home, I placed it on the table. The screen was cracked, the buttons gone. But as I turned away, I heard it buzz once, faint like a heartbeat. And for a split second, a notification flashed across the shattered display. One new voicemail. Myra's voice, barely a whisper. "Good night, Mom." It's been 3 weeks since the fire. 3 weeks since the night I watched the flames consume the last trace of Rose Hill Orphanage, and, with it, my daughter. The authorities called it an accidental ignition caused by a gas leak under the ruins. They praised the quick response of the firefighters, though they couldn't explain how I came out without a single burn. I didn't correct them. How could I tell them the truth? That the fire wasn't an accident. That I lit it myself to free the souls of the forgotten, including my own little girl? No one would believe me. They buried the investigation under paperwork and silence. But I couldn't bury her memory. Every night, I dream of smoke curling through the air like ribbons, of children's laughter echoing down long hallways that no longer exist. And always, always, Myra's voice whispering, "You did it, Mom. We're free now." But sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing because I swear I can still smell burnt wood. I quit my job last week. The kindergarten where I used to teach felt too loud, too full of life. Every child's giggle reminded me of her laugh. Instead, I spend my mornings sitting on the back porch, sipping coffee that always goes cold before I finish it. The world moves on, as it always does. The neighbors walk their dogs, delivery trucks pass by, the sun rises like it doesn't know how to stop. But inside, everything is still. The pink phone sits on my table, its screen black, edges melted. I've tried turning it on dozens of times. It never responds, except once. That first night after the fire. At exactly 3:27 a.m., it lit up for a single second, just long enough to flash her name. Mira calling. Then it went dead again. I thought it was my imagination, that maybe grief was replaying itself through the static of my mind. But the next morning I noticed something strange. Beside the phone, on the table's dusty surface, were 4 tiny fingerprints. Ash gray. Child-sized. I wiped them away, but they returned the following day. The priest I spoke to said it might be a residual echo. Spirits sometimes leave traces when they're not at peace. He told me to pray, to keep light around the house, to let go. But how do you let go of someone who keeps calling your name? Yesterday afternoon, I decided to visit the site again. The fire had erased everything. Where the orphanage once stood, there's now just blackened soil and wildflowers already starting to grow. The city plans to turn it into a memorial park. As I stood there, wind brushing through my hair, I whispered her name. Mira. And for a moment, the wind stopped. The air grew still. Then, faintly, so faintly I almost thought it was my mind playing tricks, I heard it. A child's laughter. Not far away, buried under the charred earth, something shimmered. I knelt and brushed away the ashes with trembling fingers. It was a locket. Gold, melted on one side, but still intact enough to open. Inside, 2 pictures. One of Mira as a baby, the other of me, taken years ago, smiling the way I haven't in a long time. The clasp was warm. That night, I placed the locket next to the phone. Before going to bed, I whispered, "Good night, my angel. Wherever you are." At exactly 3:27 a.m., I woke to the faint glow of light from the living room. The phone. It was on again, glowing softly, screen cracked but alive. I approached slowly, afraid to breathe, afraid to break whatever fragile thread connected us. A voicemail notification blinked. New message, 13:27 a.m. My hands trembled as I pressed play. At first, only static. Then, Mom, her voice. Mira. I gasped, tears already spilling. I'm okay, she whispered. It's warm here now. They're not scared anymore. Where are you, baby?
She paused.
I could almost hear her smiling. Everywhere the fire touched. The line crackled. I heard faint giggles, other children's voices, soft and distant. They said thank you, Mira continued, for remembering them. I pressed the phone to my heart, sobbing. I'll never forget you. I promise. Silence. Then one final whisper, barely audible. Then I'm not gone, Mom. I'm home. The message ended. The phone screen went dark. And this time, it stayed that way. I don't know if ghosts exist, or if grief can create its own reality, a thin film between worlds that sometimes lets voices through. All I know is that I heard my daughter one last time. And somehow, that's enough. The house feels lighter now. The smell of smoke has finally faded. Sometimes, I still hear faint laughter coming from the backyard, where Mira used to play among the sunflowers. And when the wind passes through the chimes hanging by her window, I swear I can hear her humming that lullaby again. Not haunting, just home. Before I sleep each night, I glance at the pink phone resting quietly on the shelf. Its cracked screen catches the moonlight, and for just a moment, it looks like it's breathing. I smile through my tears and whisper, "Good night, Mira." And from somewhere, soft as a sigh, the echo returns. Good night, Mom. If this story reached your heart tonight, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every story shared here carries a piece of someone's soul, and tonight, maybe, a little piece of Myra's too.